forever about every single slide.
Thank you for all the flexibility that I know. I think you tried earlier.
All right, we'll go.
That's okay. I left 2 teenagers at home and I don't have to smell them right now, so I'm very happy.
At least the traffic died now.
Oh, it is terrible.
Did they know whether there were any people out there?
The car fell off the bridge.
Oh, yeah, I knew about that, the water Merrimack. Yeah.
That's doing not fast, right?
2 cars hit each other, one of them went in the water. Yeah.
All right, we'll get started here. We're gonna do introductions here around the conference table. Your name, your job title, and who you work for, and then let's go around the room, and then we'll come to the people online to give us the same thing. My name is Scott Wersing. I'm the director of programs for this chapter here, and I'm an instructional systems designer for the Coast Guard up at the Training Center Yorktown.
I'm Mark Bowers. I am the former president of this chapter and volunteer at the ROI Institute level. Not employed, retired, but still very busy. Still doing support for the nonprofit community.
Hi, all. My name is Megan Cook. I'm with the Coast Guard as well, instructional systems specialist, and also the upskilling program. Kind of check out different offerings for.
I'm Marcia Stewart. I work at the recruiting shipyard. I am currently the president of the organization. I work a full-time job, part-time volunteer, full-time volunteer. So
So I'm Kim Hatzma. I'm a project manager for a team of ISDs, and I work for Leidos the last 18 years. Brand new project manager, so I'm learning and up that ladder. Yay.
I'm Ellen Vinegar. I am an instructional designer and I work for Leidos as well.
Erwin, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Again, Erwin Jankovic, ISPI Southern California Board, and background from Boeing and Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. Used to be a professor.
Great.
An experimental psychologist. So.
Lisa, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Lisa Smith. I'm in Virginia Beach. Sorry I couldn't be with you in person. I just finished with a client. So I have my own personal training and development company and utilize and teach brain-based techniques to individuals as well as organizations. So I'm interested in this topic tonight because it can be hard to really relay the ROI of the coaching and the type of learning that I do. So I'm always looking for ways to put numbers to it because numbers talk, right?
Michelle, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Michelle Kubayak. I work for the Department of the Navy at the Norfolk Naval Shipyard within the Civilian Benefits Center. So I'm a 1750 ISD by trade. However, I sit in a 201, which is the HR position. And so interested specifically in this topic as we're going through an optimization, AKA, reduction in force. And so I have a very small training team. And so, value of training, very important, but leadership doesn't always see it that way. So looking forward to today's topic.
Martha, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Martha Bowers. Hey, Patty. If I'd known you were coming, I'd have run across the tunnel to see you.
Hey,
Just didn't know. So, Newport News, but I work for Headquarters Department of the Army, and we're involved right now with trying to get a few more ROI studies completed with the ROI Institute. We've trained some of our most critical HR professional staff in demonstrating how to garner the ROI. So we've had a few pass through, and we're going to have a few more. And then we also created a system that I'm not quite ready to launch yet to share with everyone, but we have to catch up, Patty.
Yeah.
It's been a long winter.
Yes, we do.
Thank you.
We were talking about you this week at, we were over in DC at the World Bank. We were wondering how things were going with you. So let's catch up.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks. Stephanie, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, everybody. I'm Stephanie Shipman. I work for PRA Group and responsible for all of our leadership development programs. And I'm always interested in how we tell the organization you're doing a great job and we're worth every penny. So, and you are. All right. Oh, thank you. How are you? Nice to see you too. All right, everyone. So I know. So, all right. So I'm Patti Phillips. Those of you who are here, CEO of ROI Institute, and my husband and I started the business about 30 years ago. And all we do is measure and evaluate, particularly connecting programs, projects, and initiatives of all types to business impact, as well as the return on investment, to really getting to the benefits versus the costs. Because as all of you know, improve productivity. The question is, what is it worth? And how much you spend getting there, right? So really excited to be here on the board of ISPI, and we try to support ISPI in each way. So one of the things we're doing this on a Monday of a holiday week, because I know that's tough for everyone. So today we're going to talk about ROIs. We'll talk about 5 categories of results, really focus on alignment. The programs and projects is something I'm really interested in. So I really want to know what kind of programs I'll get involved in. And in your approach to measurement and evaluation, hopefully this content will resonate. But one of the things we'll talk about is this issue of alignment, because when we think about coaching or leadership or project management or marketing or communication strategy, whatever it is, the first question that we should be answering is, why are we doing it? And it's not because people need to know anything, they don't. It's not because people need to do something because they don't. It's because it's a problem or an opportunity that needs to be solved, that if people did something different and knew how to do it, we could solve the problem, right? So we'll talk about alignment, and hopefully, like I said, this will all resonate with you, at least it's worth your time this evening. So this is a QR code. You guys in the room are getting this book. There's other tools and resources. If you guys want this material, you're welcome to it. The alignment conversation, this is a document we'll talk about. I won't get into that aspect, but it is a document that I created at the request of the client, because we were having this conversation about alignment. So I was taking it through a scenario that I'll take you guys through, and they said highlight it. So it's just a little simple document. This 12 steps to ROI is
really cliff notes of our books. We write a lot of books. You can see here on the table just a few of them. But we like to write books and describe this process in the context important to the clients. We've got ROI in project management, ROI in coaching, leadership, marketing, you name it. Right. So this is the cliff notes of process. Again, this is to show the value of what you do. Our most recent book, our smallest book ever written on ROI, but it had some really good stories in it. And then two, this book, Value for Money. These case studies are learning case studies. We do, like Martha mentioned, she took her team through the certification process. We use these case studies just because you can learn so much from the case studies of others, and these in particular is not our favorite to teach. They bring up a lot of good issues, and then of course slide deck. So you're welcome to those resources if you want them. All right, so we're going to start now with a story. This is a true story. So there's a company in Birmingham, Alabama. The name of the company is not Reliance Insurance, but that's the name of it. Reliance Insurance is a life insurance policies, annuities, and money management type solutions. Frank Thompson is the CEO. They're based in Birmingham. They have an office in Cincinnati, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, and then they're employees of other kinds. Frank is the CEO. Frank was having a conversation with the head of talent development. Her name is Marge. Marge Thompson. Marge Thompson. So they were having a conversation. So Marge told us about this conversation. They were having a conversation about this communications workshop that they could deliver their clients. And it wasn't just any communications workshop. It was a big communications workshop. They had people come to an education component. There was coaching. There was avatar enablement support where you could practice with the avatar and give feedback and all that stuff. But if someone was going into a crucial conversation with their team, a performance management conversation, they could practice this discussion with this avatar. And behind the avatar was an individual who would then coach the person on their approach to communicating whatever the issue was. There's a company by the name of Immersion, MURSION, that does this type of technology. So big deal. And Frank went to the workshop too, and he thought it was great. I mean, it was fun. But he asked a simple question, and that question is, what value is it really bringing to the organization? You've got a lot of people in here. We all think it's amazing. We're going to really do it. Now, Marge brought it into Reliance Insurance because she had gone to a conference and attended a session by the people who offered this workshop. And she thought the session was amazing. And she brought it into Reliance, hoping that the managers and team leaders would think the content was as amazing as she did. Right, but this is why she brought it in. Saying, so Frank asked a simple question. That question is, okay, what value is it bringing? So she pops open the laptop and she shows them the dashboard. And this is what she tells them. We've trained 600 people. 100% of them have downloaded the digital badge. This tells us that they've all completed the course. It's amazing. Right? We get 4.5 out of 5 facilitator engagement. 85% of them tell us they're committed to applying what they've learned. We have a net promoter score of 90 for this program. It's amazing. And on top of that, they all left knowing their personality types. Frank's like, yeah, it's all pretty amazing, but for sure. But I really want to know, what's really happening here? Are they changing their approach? Are we seeing an improvement in, sales and quality of customer satisfaction, employee satisfaction? And oh, by the way, Marge, how much did it cost? And Marge says, well, I don't have that information right now. And he said, can you get it? Exactly. Wait, can you get it for me in 2 weeks? Marge put her head in her hand and she's thinking, oh my gosh. You know, Brent said you'd love the workshop. What has changed about it? What am I gonna do? Maybe if I do nothing, Brent will bring it up. So my question to all of you is doing nothing an option? It should never, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be an option, right?
It's,
Oh, it's an option.
it's
Oh,
all,
it's an option, right? It's an option. Yeah, what might be the consequence if she were to take that option?
She's showing that she's not a follow through, that she'll come up with the ideas, but she's not willing to do the work to ensure that idea comes across.
Yeah, no problem.
Lisa says it's an option, but not a good.
You're right. It's a possibly a career limiting option there, right? So she has options, but we all know she wants to stay in good graces, right? She's limited to what her options are. So here's my question for all of you. My next question, what can she do? So just thinking about her situation, she's got 2 weeks. She's got 600 managers, so this is for everyone out there too, virtual world. 600 managers involved with the program. They loved it. It was amazing. They all committed to apply it. They all know the personality product. He wants to know what kind of impact do we see as a result of this program? What did it cost? What did she do? There's no option. So she's done something. So she's got 2 weeks to get something.
At least get the cost information. That's something that should be easy to access.
Yeah, she can at least figure out how much she spent on that line. So what happens when she comes to Frank and says, hey, Frank, I spent $750,000 on this program? What's his next question going to be? ROI.
Because she never answered the question. So she's wasted 2 weeks to get a baseline.
She never answered the question. What now?
She needs to
Okay.
answer the words.
Yeah.
So she needs to ask them.
It's not a. Yeah. How are people using it? What's the result of that? How's she gonna do that? Just do it.
She could,
Surveys. She could do a survey.
our success case methodology, just go ask some people that,
Right.
and ask them, hey, can you give a testimonial on how this has impacted or helped your team?
Right.
You only got 2 weeks, you gotta find like 3 people and come find a cool story.
She's got 600 people.
600, yeah.
But she's got around
Three is
3
a very
people.
small portion of that. It's not
Oh.
a big enough sample to really provide any information. So your sample needs to be at least 50, not 600.
So do we know? Maybe more than necessary. If they've already been through a performance cycle using this tool, maybe asking the people who manage that performance cycle what was different for them in terms of studying to support it. Did they have more questions that they had to respond to? Did they have more grievances that came forward because employees were dissatisfied with the performance conversations? And then look at ratings, so we see how employees, sometimes employees will push back on their evaluations and put in feedback, so they can pull that out of their database system.
Yeah, if they've got data in their database,
Yeah.
she has an opportunity.
so this is the program. Leadership program, was it just finished and she got 2 weeks to answer?
No, it's been going on, 600 people, yeah, it's been going on. Wow, yeah.
She can get one key metric. How many people have left the company voluntarily for the person who's not through the program? That's from the, people don't quit their job, managers. I think that would be interesting.
So she could look at
So that's
the,
the HR question.
she could look at the turnover of those going.
I don't
The
know.
employees
Subordinate
of
to.
these people compared to employees and people not. So comparison, yeah, she could do that.
I had to answer a question with a question, but does Mark have access to 600 individual budgets?
Okay.
Well, she should try at least to get
She
from a couple of hundreds and ask that straightforward question. So after you've learned something here, How does your budget look like for the rest of the year?
Yeah. Interesting. So I think she has to get a baseline, so unless before they went to the training, they had some type of data to really for her to come back through and say before and now, then she's gonna have a hard sell, but within that 2 weeks, if she comes up with a baseline, you know, we didn't think of getting a baseline when we started, but since you've asked the question, this is where they are. Remember, I told you they all knew their strengths. Maybe she go ask, what are your strengths and how are you using them to improve your ROI? So I don't know, I think she has to determine a baseline now so that when she goes and speaks with him, she can set up another date to where she'd have data with that. Yeah, she can get that.
What about group out? We've got 7 people. What are they saying?
Anybody on the phone?
Anybody
Anyone in the
there?
Zoom, we want to think about what Mark should do? Come off of mute.
Well, I wrote this in the chat. There's no mention about the impact that company wanted to notice as a result of doing the training. I mean, that should always be a part. Why would the company spend money unless there's a particular improvement they want to make or outcome that they want to have? That should always be, determined at the beginning, and then finding a way to measure that. Do they currently have measurements such as like their income? They're looking to increase that, or do they need to take a survey, baseline, somebody mentioned there, right? The baseline survey, and then post-training survey, at least one, at the end. And if there's more that they need to implement, then, another one after a certain time period of implementation to see if the implementation happened and also added more impact to it. So there always needs to, be a measurement, right? And know what the objective is of the training in the first place. So that, that wasn't mentioned at the beginning, and maybe it was there, but it wasn't just brought up in the case study.
She brought it in because she thought it was amazing. Right? And she was hoping that everybody would think the same. So that's all, that's it. That sort of sums it up. So was there a business objective? No. She has fiduciary responsibility to invest in people. She thought it was great. She brought it in. How many times does that happen? A lot. Go to a session and we are enamored with whatever it is. And because we can write the check, we buy it. It happens with tech. It happens with communication. This AI thing is happening every day because it's a shiny object. It is new, yet not. And we buy it. Without investigating. Without investigating. And that's what we do. And so that's what Marge did. And that's what we want to do. So when we think about value, we think about value in different terms. Of course, that gets us back to the framework that we're also familiar with, right? So Brandon Katz from the Ph.D. developed this 4 steps to trend evaluation. He's an IO psychologist. Dr. Patrick wrote about it. Jack operationalized it as a lot of things and analysis to it. So that's what gets us to the ROI. So the framework's been with us for a long time ago, regardless of what process you use. The data we report falls in one of these buckets. Success case method is beautiful right here. I mean, that's why, Bricker-Hall falls under our umbrella, our methodology. Your business impact data here. What people think about a program is here. So it's a classic framework to categorize data. And so how we perceive value just depends. Now, Barnes thought it was valuable because she thought it was amazing. Right. And it was pretty amazing that everyone knew their personality types. And Frank thought it was a good program. Right. But what Frank's looking for is this. The so what of it. He'd be happy if he heard something change. Right. So when we think about value, we think of it along this chain of impact.
And the chain of impact tells us as we invest in programs and projects, people have to buy in. The people are committed. They told us that they're committed to using it. We just don't know if they did and the consequences of it. People have to be committed to do it. So they're getting buy-in. They should run one reaction data. Level 2 learning data. They have to know something. They have to come out of it knowing or have insights about themselves or about other people. Okay, that's good. They have to do that in order for them to apply it. Okay. This is where the rubber meets the road, though. People have to do something with what they know in order to deliver impact and ROI. This doesn't do how I think about it. That landing point. Like, I don't want people out there. Yeah, there we go. Okay, that's the rubber meets the road. So people have to apply it. Because it's not about what people know. It's about what people do with what they know. When we say knowledge is power, knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is not powerful. People do something with it. And then the impact tells us the consequence of what people are doing. People care what people do. We care about the consequences of it. We care about how those behaviors make our people feel. We care about how those behaviors improve productivity. We care about how those processes that we're implementing improve quality of work. So it's about the consequence of what we do. But then you get here and someone says, okay, what is it for? Well, it's worth $750,000. Great. How much did you spend to get to $750,000? If you spend $1 million to save the company $750,000, have you used your resources wisely? No.
Pick it up on bottom.
Right. Yes. Yes. You can say that, right? You still haven't used resources wisely. If your cost exceeds the benefits, and it's like you give you some money, that's the beauty of this. All right, it's classic cost benefit analysis is an economic theory that was omitted from the original 4 steps that capital development Don wrote about. Okay, we want to know that. It doesn't mean that the other measures aren't important, because they are. They want to buy in, they have to learn, they have to do. There's a consequence to it, but it's got to pay off. So when we think about ROI, thank you. When we think about ROI, we've got these two formulas. So you've got the BCR and the ROI. There are lots of different measures of economic value add. There's return on equity, ROE, return on equity, which is irrelevant when it comes to this. It's an important measure, but it's not associated with what we're doing here. Return on assets, there's net present value, there's internal rate of return, there's return on capital employed, there's lots of different measures of return, but the two that work across all programs, projects, and initiatives. So thank you. Programs, projects, initiatives, or the benefit cost ratio, that's your BCR, and then your ROI, which is the percentage. ROI is a percentage. These two work with anything, whether it's training program, leadership, coaching, critical thinking, AI, technology spend, marketing, communication strategy, whatever your strategy, membership drive strategy. These two measures work. The BCR, benefit cost ratio, is the output of cost benefit analysis. Cost benefit analysis is grounded in welfare economics and public finance. It is a public sector metric. It comes out of government. It comes out of nonprofit. We trace it back to the 1600s when Sir William Petty found the cure for the plague resulted in an 84-to-1 benefit cost ratio as an 8,300% return on investment. Now, what is the benefit of curing the plague? Less people die. The value of human life, which organizations do all the time today. That's not what we're doing. We figure if you save a human life, that's amazing, tangible, right? But the point of it is if you can put value on human life, you put value on me. You can figure out how to put value on teamwork. Right, we'll figure it out. But again,
That's what I was gonna ask you. So when you look at the program benefits, how would, I forget what her name was. How would Marge be able to tell him the cost associated with what she thought the benefits were?
so the value of the benefits, right?
Right.
Yeah, so the value, so we have to look first at what is the benefit. So what's the impact, right? Well, our people are telling us that we improve teamwork. Okay, what's the consequence of that? So that teamwork is what the soft, more subjective measures. So we have to do a little further drill down. Okay, so what? What do you mean they're working better together? Well, there's no more complaints. Okay, what's the cost of a complaint? Well, it takes up my time. It's probably costing us $1,000 a week just me dealing with it. Well, now your value is based on time dealing with a complaint. Again, it's a softer approach to get there. Many of the measures are going to be standard values. Okay. But the idea is you're trying to connect it to measures of output, quality, cost, and time. Thank you. So when we look at business impact measures, the measures, business impact represents the consequence of people doing something. That consequence is categorized either as hard data or soft data, or objective data versus subjective data. The hard data are more objective. You can count it, you can see it. So how many books were on the table, we can count, right? That's hard data. Soft data, more subjective. Soft data are your measures: teamwork, employee engagement, customer satisfaction. The measures that we take using more subjective methodologies like survey data. Survey data is a soft measure. Even though we may use statistics to do the analysis on it, it is still subjective. Because on any given day, the employee's happy or not happy, right? Customers happy or not happy. So those are more subjective. In either case, thanks, sir. In either case, to get to the ROI, we're going to convert those measures to money. Now, the program benefits in your BCR are made up of profit, cost savings, and cost avoidance. So your numerator, your BCR and your ROI are annual rate of return. So your numerator is always based on annual change in performance. You may not wait a year to get to that change, but it's an annual. Numerator is always annual change in performance. You're going to convert the improvement in whatever your measure is to either profit, cost savings, or cost avoidance. Now, our government, nonprofit, and NGO clients tend to use cost savings, cost avoidance. We do have some government who go for profit. So, state stores, for example, alcohol, beverage, you can control, right? That's what they're about. I had a gal who worked with us for ABC in one of my workshops. She's like, guarantee you all I care about is profit. Check. But most of the time it's cost savings, cost avoidance. The interesting thing is in private sector, companies, corporations, the measures that they're working with also primarily drive cost savings and cost avoidance. A lot of people say, well, we can't do ROI, we're not business. You do ROI. It's cost benefit analysis. It's BCR. We've been looking for a long time. It's just you're not working on measures that drive profit. You're working measures that drive cost savings, cost avoidance. Businesses are exactly the same thing. It's about output, quality, cost, time, customer satisfaction, job satisfaction, work habits, innovation. Some drive profit. Most drive cost savings. So all we're going to do is take that profit, cost savings, cost avoidance, and then we just divide it by the cost of the program. Now your ROI is coming from business. There's a different distance, but we're going to get there the same way. The fundamental difference between BCR and ROI is that the ROI represents the net benefits. Your numerator is based on net benefits. Take your program benefits minus your program cost. And then divide by the cost, and then you multiply it times 100. So let's take a look. Let's try it. Okay, folks at home, in your chat, we want to see rapid fire chat answer to the math problem.
Oh, goodness. What we need math?
Yeah, that's an ROI workshop. Gotta do math. We always do math in ROI workshop. All right, so your numerator, in this case, we implemented a program. Let's say we saved the organization $750,000, and it only costs us $425,000. So what is the BCR and what is the ROI?
We're all reaching for our phones. 765.
All right. Another one, trust but verify, digital ROI.
1.76
For your what?
BCR.
VCR 1.76. That we got 1.7647. All righty. What do we see out down? What do we see? I see Chad. Oh, that's you. Okay. All right. All right. Ah, shoot. Thank you. Okay, so go back. Thank you. Okay, 1.76 BCR. So that tells us for every $1 we invest, we get $1.76 back in gross benefits. So $1.76 back. Your ROI at 76% is telling us for every $1 we invest, we get that dollar back plus an additional 76 cents. It is a 76% return on investment. We will see people every now and then take that 1.76 at the top, this at the top, multiply it by 100, and then report an ROI of 176%. Do you see the problem with that?
Yes.
Okay. We don't want anyone from Hampton Roads ISPI chapter or Friends Up, who you're not a member yet, to do that. Because when you present that, they think you know what you're doing, right? And if they find out otherwise, not only are you overcommitting here, but and overstating, but then you're losing credibility. So they're cousins, they're related measures, but different. Two different disciplines, the output a little bit different. ROI is net, reported as percentage, BCR is. Okay, everybody okay on that one? Okay, that was one of only 2 math problems. Right, so in the end, we've got different measures of value. Okay, level 0 data is not measured of value, it is a measure of cost, it is the investment. Your level 0 data is the investment. Reaction data tell you from that participant perspective, there is value, meaning they're committed to doing something with it. It's relevant, it's important to them. They would recommend it to others. Those are good measures at level 1. You still might want measures around facilitation, project management, technology to make sure the process is working. But what we're really looking for are those predictors of application. So that's your relevance, important, intent to use, amount of new information. Learning is valuable. Learning measures, it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be training. It can be coaching. We've had people say, well, coaching and leadership development is not training. There's no learning. Oh my goodness. What a miss. Yes, there is. Because you may not be building a technical skill, but you are learning. You're getting insight, even if it's insight about yourself, even if it's confidence to have that crucial conversation. All of that is learning, right? So there's learning in everything that we do. Application, are people doing what you want them to do the way you want them to? Are they doing it with the level of frequency? What are the barriers to them doing it? What are the enabling factors? That's level 3. Okay, impact. So what? So what? They're doing what you want them to do. How is it improving? Output quality, cost, time, customer satisfaction, job satisfaction, work habits, and innovation. And how much of that improvement is due to this solution and not something else? Now, people will often say, our process is a part of everything. Not when Frank wants to know the value that it brings. He is isolating that initiative. And he wants to know how much of that is due, how much of that is delivering value. That's actually got to isolate the effects of the program. It's probably the most important work that we have done over the past 30 years in Jack, all those years before it goes. We've got to be able to show that. We've got to do the right analysis to tell the story. And then ROI is just telling us, is it worth it? Right? Did you get enough benefit? Justify the cost. So the question then is, okay, how do we get here? You've got to create it. To demonstrate value that's meaningful to Frank, we've got to create the value. And to create the value means we're going to take this framework and we're going to use it 3 ways. 1, to categorize the evaluation results, the different measures of value. 2, to categorize our objectives, because objectives represent the architectural blueprint. And then 3, to categorize that needs assessment data. Because your objectives represent intended outcomes, well, the intended outcomes are going to come from what needs to happen. So we're using the framework those 3 ways, and we're going to create the value. And then evaluation is just like a little data to show you exactly what you want to. So this is on, you'll see this will be on the inside slide.
Is that previous slide anywhere, the one that had 5 levels of evaluation? I mean, it's kind of in the middle, but.
I'll send you the deck.
Yeah, I mean, you guys
That's
had
a
the
really
whole,
good slide.
yeah.
I'll send you that.
Yeah. And if what we can, and it's all in that portal, but send a deck and then we send you some more things to send to. So what we're doing here, this is our alignment model. And what we're doing here is we're trying to create the value from the beginning. To create the value means you have to define what you're looking for. Why are you doing it? And the why is the opportunity for the organization to make money, save money, avoid costs, do greater good. And then we go from there to get to the solution, right? Yes, that is right. It's not like A to B. Yeah, this doesn't like me. Okay, so it starts up at the top. Why are we doing it? What is the opportunities for the organization? So what business measures need to improve, and what is the value in improving those measures? That is the problem. Coaching is never the problem. Leadership development, never the problem. Project management, never the problem. Training, never the problem. Those are solutions to problems. They're solutions for opportunity. They are never the issue. Communications workshop, not the problem. Even though ATD 2023 research says 85% of those people responding to this particular survey said communications is one of their weakest areas. That's not the problem. It's one of their weakest areas, but so what? What if it weren't? Like, what problem did that trying to solve? So the problem and opportunity are with the business or the organization. And it's got to be worth a problem worth solving. And from there, we sort out solutions. So again, classic HPT, right? Sort out what is happening and not happening that if we changed it, could help us improve the business measure to take advantage of the plan. And then once we know what the solution is, the solution usually bubbles up at that performance need area. Once we see look at these solutions, then we ask the question, what is it people need to know to do what we want them to do so that we can improve the business measure and take advantage of the plan? And then how do we roll it out? Preferences. How do we roll it out so that people commit to using the content and learning what they need to know to improve whatever this gap is, to improve that performance gap, so that we can improve that measure and take advantage of the payoff. And then your input needs down at the bottom, that's just who's involved. So that's your level 0 data. So given the needs, who's going to be involved, how much is going to spend, who's going to do with it. Does that make sense? So real quick, look at one. Okay, so Seacorp Bank. So Seacorp Bank was a small regional bank, was purchased by Regions Bank many years ago. They had a lot of issues. They had turnover issues, so the whole industry kind of sorts. Lots of mergers and acquisitions. They had a lot of operational issues. They had a lot of turnover at the bank. You can see there, 57% turnover at the bank for the total bank. Now, the cost of turnover, they estimated, was anywhere from 110% to 125% of salary. That was just general research they found. Customers were upset, and they said, okay, we've got turnover, we have upset customers. Customers are leaving. They said, what is our real problem? Well, where do customers go? They go to branches. to open checking accounts, to do their business. They looked at the turnover at the branches. The turnover at the branches was 71%. So while at the bank, it was 57%, they were losing over 300 employees at the branch level every year. That's a problem. And when you multiply that problem times 110% on the minimum salary, it is a problem worth solving. Plus they're losing business, right? So the question is for all of you, you know what your problem is. Your problem is you're losing your customers, big problem. But the problem we're going to tackle is the turnover. We've got turnover of the bank branch employees. And it's costing us a lot of money, just the cost of the turnover, not even the cost of losing customers. How are you going to figure out what is causing the turnover? How are you going to sort out the performance gap, the performance needs? What is happening and not happening that needs to change? How are you going to go about it? Anybody out there too? How are you going to, what is going to exit interviews when you do them? Okay. So exit interviews.
So go to the conference. I heard this. I don't know in which session it was. It's not so much the exit interviews the person who's leaving. It's the folks they work with.
Agreed.
Why did he leave? Why did she leave? That's a place to find some truth.
Agreed. Yeah. You were that myself.
Well, and that's some of those retention, some of those, some organizations have retention conversations. They, you know, what would make you leave? Or to, yeah, kinds of things too. Those are all hypotheticals, but it is something.
Yeah. And that's what they did. So, you know, they looked at exit interviews, exit surveys, you know, lots of different things that we can do. And they did look at that survey data. But when you look at exit interviews, you're getting a perspective, but you're usually getting it from people who don't want to burn bridges or the people who want to torch the bridge. You know, you usually are getting to it, right? You're not getting that middle.
If you're getting any and all.
If you're getting,
Yeah, we find them.
and that's what we've seen in other organizations too, because they're leaving. They want to sit on pay.
Or you can't track them down.
Exactly, right? I mean, they've checked out or moved on or whatever. So what the bank did, they used non-recruit technique. You know that from the session?
I remember the essence.
Yeah. They used a process non-recruit technique. And so to get to the crux of the problem, they conducted a series of focus groups. And the focus groups, they invited the people who looked like the people leaving. And they asked a simple question. That question is, why are your colleagues leaving? The psychology being, if you ask someone, you know, why are you leaving? I mean, why might you leave? They're not going to tell you because they don't want you to know that you're thinking about leaving, right? But you ask someone to talk about their colleagues, they're all in, right? I mean, they're all there. I'll tell you exactly why they're leaving. Supervisor, whatever it is. So they went through this process using non-group technique, and they went around the room, this focus group. Each person said, here's what people are leaving. They went through a rank order process, and they came up with 5 reasons that they could tackle with one solution. And that was a skill-based pay program. Because what they were hearing from the branch employees is, we can't advance, we don't have skills. You know, pay was one of the issues, but what was frustrating for them is the customers would get mad at them because they couldn't open a checking account. And they couldn't open the checking account because they don't have the skill. But the person who could open the checking account was out to lunch. So it was just this whole thing happening in the branches. So pay was part of it, but it was really about them being able to do the job. And so no advancement, no skill, pay, no autonomy, and then of course lack of recognition. And so they came up with this skill-based pay solution. That what they did, they said, okay, we're gonna put this out there. And if you go learn new skills, and you use those skills, you can advance to a higher level in this job. So they created 3 job groups instead of just the one, added 2 more job groups. So as people build skills, they did more in the branch, they got promoted, got more autonomy. But when they looked at who needs to know what, they realized It's not just about the branch employees who could leave. Building skill, they had to explain why the solution. The managers needed to know how the process worked and what their role is. The employees needed to know how it worked, what their role was, plus go develop and build those skills. And then they wanted to launch it. They had to launch it throughout all the branches. And then they also wanted to position it so that people who opted out were not penalized. Because not everybody wants it, right? Some people are comfortable, doing this. So they wanted to make sure and position it. So they estimated the turnover prevention is 60, and that, the estimate was about $1 million. And then they thought that the cost would be about $2,000. So they forecasted an ROI up front and then did the follow-up there. But the point of it is they started with the end game. So it's like what Lisa said, they started with a clear direction on where they were going, how they're trying to solve. Skill-based pay is not the problem. It was a solution to a problem. And they did the homework. And again, it all starts up here at payoff needs and business needs, right? What is the problem that we're solving? And then let's spend the money to drill down to find out what needs to change. Sometimes we don't have that luxury to do that, right? You just don't have it. Somebody comes to you, they read a good book. I don't know. But they read a good book, Crucial Conversations. I love doing this. Crucial Conversations. Anybody read it? Yes, good stuff, right? Y'all read Crucial Conversations, it's good. Good. But boss reads a good book, Crucial Conversations. And she comes in and she says, I read a good book, Crucial Conversations. I want a 2-day workshop next Thursday and Friday. I want to share what board to facilitate it. I want those supervisors to go and I want to see a positive ROI. Are you in? Slow down.
One time.
Now, as soon as you say yes to that, what happens? As soon as you agree to that, what happens?
There's no negotiation.
No negotiation, right? You own it. You own the program and you own the ROI. So we're not going to do it. We're not going to say no. This is March 8th. We're not going to say no because no is free will. Never say no. But you don't say yes either because you're in trouble if you do. So rather than say no or yes, we're going to say great idea. I read the book. It's a good book. We should all read that book. Now, what exactly is it that you want them to learn that they don't know now that they would know if they went to Sharon LaPointe's workshop? And the boss says, I want them to learn how to have a crucial conversation. And you say, great idea. You should all know how to have a crucial conversation. Okay. What do you want them to do that they're not doing now that they could do if they knew how to have a crucial conversation? And the boss looks up here and he starts talking. And he says, I want those supervisors to have a crucial conversation with those employees who aren't showing up for work. What is the problem?
Absenteeism.
Absenteeism, right? And so your response is, great idea. I'm going to repeat it back to you, boss. You want those supervisors to go to a 2-day workshop, crucial conversation, share my voice when it's facilitated, what's the positive ROI. And you want to do that because you want them to learn how to have a crucial conversation so that they can have a crucial conversation with those employees who aren't showing up for work. So are you telling me, boss, we have an absenteeism problem? And boss said, we're the same the whole time. That's what I thought, just wanted to make sure. What is absenteeism rate? We're at 9%, we should be 5%. That's a 4% difference. How much does one absence cost us? It costs about $9.50 an absence. Expensive. Got it. All you have to do is multiply the 4% times the number of employees, by the number of days they work, times the value you want. And that will give you the value of the problem. So with that information, you can now make a good call on is it worth bringing share of weight in.
How do you know that equation? You just give the equation. I'm like, I
No, and so that's the point, right? And that's the whole thing. You just have to look at what is our problem, right? So what is the problem is absenteeism. We're at 9%, we want to be at 5%. 4% absenteeism rate. We have 160 employees that work 220 days. So all you're doing is you're really taking absenteeism rate and you're breaking it down into the days at the actual absentee. So 4% absenteeism rate on any given day, 4% of your employee population is not showing up. And so you don't act like that. But the idea here is, what is it really costing? What is that problem really costing? Well, we're about 3%. We probably got 2%. Well, that's 1%. Well, what does that look like in terms of actual numbers? Is it worth bringing Sharon Lavoie in to solve this little problem? Because she's going to charge you $25,000, and you're going to take all these people off the job to do it. So is that worth? Maybe not. Well, where's the real problem? Well, it's really these two plans. Well, what if we just bring in someone who can have a pretty conversation? Maybe bring Sharon in for a couple hours coaching with them. Get her in, get her out. And now you're not spending $25,000 plus maybe by this time. So the idea is working that V model, the left side of the V, and trying to really understand what is the boss's problem. Because it's not crucial conversations, right? There's a thing you share, he's trying to sort out. And if they come to you and they say, okay, my people need to know these skills, your next question is, what are they going to do with it? Or your people, somebody comes to you and says, my people need to stop behaving like this. So if they do, how's that going to help you improve output quality constant time? So you're always elevating it up to the next. The point is, we're not going to take crucial conversations or whatever it is. In coaching or leadership or whatever it is, don't take it at face value. AI is the thing you're doing. Not really. AI is the solution. The problem or not opportunity, right? Which could cause additional problems. And that's what we're trying to do here. And then from there, all we have to do is develop these objectives here. And this is often a miss. We don't go into our projects with their objectives. You might do training, you might have good learning objectives. Sometimes you want to have behavioral objectives, but it is rare to see those impact objectives. And we execute what we design. And so we need to get clear on the left side and then get specific in the middle, because those objectives become that architecture. There was an article I was reading about. One of the issues with AI is people don't know what the impact AI has. It's not going to be passive. It's not what the impact AI has. What impact do you want AI to have? You drive the train, right? Well, to know that, you have to get clear on the left side of the V, but have those specific objectives. I want to reduce unexpected absence 4% in the next 12 months. And then design whatever that solution is to do that. That means you're going to have a crucial conversation with Sharon Lavoie. She needs to know that's what you want to do. Too much of the time, we don't talk to our suppliers. They bring a solution and we buy it. But we don't have that conversation. I'll buy it if we're really trying to do. What do we do then? So we have those objectives. And then your evaluation is a piece of cake. So I'm going to stop there for just a minute to see what y'all think. That's not all long enough.
What were the, Lisa, want to know the two types of objectives?
Two types of objectives.
Learning, there's a whole bunch in the middle.
Well, there's all those in the middle of the V, Miss Lisa. All of those in the middle, Lisa, but what we miss, what we currently get, we get learning objectives and sometimes we'll get behavioral objectives. What we are missing much of the time are those impact objectives. And so like with coaching or leadership development, sometimes you will have people coming from different parts of the organization. Well, not all of them have an absenteeism problem, right? Some have an absenteeism problem. Some people have reject problem, error problem, quality problems. Some people do want to improve productivity. So you may have 17 people in the room, and they all have a different KPI they're targeting. All we do, and that's the beauty of leadership development coaching. Those solutions tend to have higher ROIs because you're getting the benefit of team performance, one, but you're getting the benefit of multiple measures. So at your impact level, what you may have for your objective may not be a specific business measure with a target, but what it might be is have each person select 3 measures from their operations report that they need to improve. And let them help you set that target. Because, yeah, baby step. What we don't want to do is solve our problem, not their problem. We'll have people go through workshops and they'll say, we want to improve turnover, so we're going to put all these leaders in this leadership development program. It's going to cost thousands and thousands to improve turnover. Our question to them is, what is your turnover? It's 2%. Well, you go get that in front of 2% is minimal. It's tiny. You need turnover. Let's get some churn, and then you guys the idea, right? So if you don't have a problem, but invest in a solution. Now, there's something to be said about mitigating it. So if it's insurance, you can certainly do that. But insurance, what's the value of avoiding that? But it's all about solving, especially leadership and coaching, those programs that support people who are leading teams. They all have their issues. Let them help you tell them this. I've told them. Can you pop over to slide 28? Oh, you have to just hit 28. That way you have to go to that whole activity. So have to do it. Oh, it's not working. This isn't. So I just wanted to show you guys this evaluation model. So this is the approach in all of these. So this is same process, just linear in more detail, right? So any good measurement process, you've got your framework of data, that's where you have your data. You've got your process models help explain what we're going to do, how we do it. They also help us explain what we did once it's done, so it allows for that replication. And then on the middle, inside flat, you have your standards. So whatever approach you guys are doing, just make sure you've got the data categories, you've got your process, and you follow the set of standards. The first 3 steps in the process are that left side of the D and your objectives. That's your life. So when we think impact and ROI and value, we always think about it up front. Thinking value, the learning valuable, application is valuable. We want to get to that so what, that why. What are the measures we're really trying to drive? And not all of them are going to have monetary value, but what's the real so what we're trying to do? So it starts with why we're doing it, and then sorting out the right solution and getting your objectives. So those first 3 are the left side of the B plus the objectives. And then we've got, from there, all you do is design your solution, go collect data. I mean, that's all you have to do with technology today. You can build data collection throughout the process. That's what we want you to do. We collect those level 1 and 2 data during the solution. Call them what you want to, but we're doing it anyway. You know, we're looking at the audience to see if they're engaged. We're checking it with our coaching client to see if things are working for them. That's all that we want data. That's all it is. You're always doing checking. But we want to make sure people are buying in the solution and it's working for them, that they're getting the knowledge, skill, information, that they need to do the work. And then we follow up to see if they're doing it. And again, technology lets us do a lot of follow-up. So we might do surveys, questionnaires. Those are the most frequently used, not necessarily the best, but they're most frequently used action plans and those interviews and focus groups. At level 4, we typically are going to use performance monitoring, which are the records. There's typically level 4 measures from companies. sometimes not, but typically they will. And then on your analysis, if y'all ever want to do like a webinar or something just on analysis, we can. You'll see we've got to do the right analysis. We can't do all this great work and then on the evaluation and skip all that. Measure set to isolate the effects of the program. So sometimes we experiment with control groups. Sometimes we use trendline analysis. Sometimes we use mathematical modeling. Sometimes we use estimates to get there, but we're always going to do that. It's got to be principle number 5 or 5th standard. And then to get to the money, you're just going to convert some measures to money, some won't. You'll bring in the cost, calculate the ROI, and then report those achievements. And in the end, all you have to do is tell your story. So last math problem for the nice. Let's hit you off with a big one. Okay, last math problem. Some of your solutions are inexpensive. Some of your problems are really expensive. Sometimes inexpensive solutions can solve very expensive problems. And when that happens, we have very big ROI. It's just math, right? So this is one of those cases. This is a healthcare organization. They had hostile work environment. They had complaints, they had litigation, they had turnover. It was a mess. These people were not behaving like adults, like 7-year-olds in these hospitals. The cost of one complaint was $24,343. And then the cost of turnover of those people who were leaving averaged $20,887. They already had a policy that nobody was paying attention to. So what they did is they implemented a 2-day workshop with the senior most leadership. They worked with them recognizing what is hostile work environment, what is it costing us, here's the policy, what you need to do to reinforce it, here's what's going to happen, really work with them for 2 days. After that, those leaders met with their direct reports in a routine staff meeting. And those leaders met with their direct reports in a routine staff meeting. So they were running this and sharing the content without investing in anything else. The big investment was this first 2-day workshop. They collected their level 1 data, their level 2 data, their level 3 data was a follow-up questionnaire, plus they used the employee satisfaction survey. So they had a specific questionnaire that went out, plus they used data they already collected. And then they had their complaint and turnover records. They collected those in 12 months after the program. Their isolation technique, they used trendline analysis. Their turnover it was steady. When you're using trendline analysis, your measure needs to be trending one way or the other, and it was steady. These trendline analysis for isolation, and then they use regression to help them sort out the effects of effects of the program on turnover. Cost of the program was $277,987. After they isolated the effects of the program, you see at the bottom of the slide, they prevented 14.8 complaints for the year and 136 turnover statistics for the year. Your numerator is always going to be those annual monetary, the annualized. So change in performance times the value of one unit. So let's look just at those data and see if you guys can get there. Okay, so you've got for the year, you reduce complaints 14.8, so that's your annual change in performance. You reduce turnover 136 for the year. The cost of one complaint was $24,343. And the cost of a turnover was $20,887. See what you guys can do with that. Both at home, see what you guys can do with that. Don't overthink it. You're just taking the annual change in performance times the value of one unit. So the value of one complaint was $24,343. So multiply that times the annual change in performance. And it's already annualized for you. And then the cost of turnover, your ROI is going to be high. Now when someone gets. Your VCR, the VCR?
Yes.
What's your ROI? Chat.
Divided by program, was the program cost again?
Yes, so your ROI is gonna be your benefits minus cost divided by the cost. Another way you could do it is take that 11.05, subtract 1, and then multiply the result by. Okay, then multiply times 100, you don't carry it out.
Like 1,051.
Yes, so 1,000, yeah, yes. 1,051. Huge. So
That's
just,
huge.
it's huge, right? But they defended it, it was huge, but they walked through the process and did what we got.
It's interesting because when in those numbers, I wouldn't have thought that. The complaints were only 14.
Yeah.
I never would have thought the ROI.
This is the cost of each one.
And that's what money does, right? It's the power of the monetary value. So like, if people will sometimes laugh, it's kind of too concerned about money. Yes, I am. Well, number one, money gives you options, but number two, it shows you the magnitude of the problem, the magnitude of the benefit, because that happens to be what we kind of pay ourselves to in terms of trade and all that. So when you convert something to money, it tends to show up a little bit differently because you're right, 14.8. How can it be worth that? Because when you're just looking at the 14.8, it doesn't look like a big thing.
Right.
But when you convert it to money, now it grows. Yeah, it's huge. Now, they're not all going to be like that, right? And most aren't. Most of the time, we don't have that luxury, but we forget that sometimes we can solve the biggest, most expensive problems with just the smallest solution. We don't have to go buy a bunch of technology. So remind everyone, right?
So I have a question. So you do your math right, you have all your analysis is correct, your ROI. You have a great solution. So you do that, you implement. But in order for the learning to actually happen, the people who participate in the program have to do things.
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So if the change doesn't occur because the people don't apply it, we get motive, right? What's their motivation for not, or their lack of motivation?
Right.
So how do you, has anybody run into that and how do you solve that? Because then it can get very expensive.
It can. So you're not going to get impact costs of ROI if people don't use it. Now, measures improve, but you can't do stuff right. So, and that's where that's why early in the process, we want to know if they're motivated. Yeah. In that, you know, 2 times you can do that coming in when they're in. And of course, that follow-up. But part of what you're following up on the application is, you know, are you using it? No. Okay, what's preventing?
I guess there's other things at play that support your success, right? So you've got change management supporting you, you've got communication plans supporting you, you've got iterative learning supporting you. So there's other things at play that can,
Right.
So could you, a big part of that too is that you hire the right person for the job. Because if they're,
if they're not motivated, sure.
because if they're not motivated, they may not be the fit.
Well, let me give you an example, I guess. So you you start something and everybody's excited and motivated in the front. Yes, this is great. Yes, I'm motivated. Yes, this is gonna make a difference. Yes, you did the right thing. We're on board. And then every day happens. So they go right back into old patterns or they lose their momentum. So then it's a matter of figuring out as we can build into our program, how you keep that momentum going so that you've got enough duration to realize the benefits.
Right. So can you, can I find on this whiteboard? All right, this is what often doesn't happen. So if we go back to, can you go to slide 25? Just hit 25, it should take you. Just hit the numbers 25 on your keyboard, just put 25, or you can do that way.
This one?
No, it's back to the big model. Slide again. All right, so you see here, so stay turned around, so you see here. Here's your payoff and your business need. Okay, here's what needs to change. Well, add that performance needs. So folks at home, I'm looking at the performance needs. So here's what needs to change. Here's the objectives. But what we often don't do is add to that the rest of the strategy, the rest of the story, right? That's your learning transfer strategy. Okay. So whether it's coaching, whatever it is, you're going to have a transfer strategy. How are you going to take it? So if we go back to Mary Broadmoor, yeah. Go back to Mary Broadmoor. You've got the manager, and this is based off her research, 3 roles, but you have to think with who are all the roles, right? But the 3 primary roles that influence learning transfer. The manager of the person involved in the project, right? And then we'll just call them the learner, so the person involved in the project. And then the facilitator. And the facilitator could be the team leader, is whoever is delivering the message or the content. So the project manager, the team leader, the facilitator. Manager of this person, the person in the project, and then whoever's doing the content. And what she did in her research, she found 4 during and then after the learning. There were 3 time frames that these 3 roles finished out. So the idea is as you're designing those programs, you're designing for impact and ROI, you're designing for results, working that theme on it. A part of the design work is this. And what is it the manager can do before their employee gets involved in whatever that solution is? What can they do during the time that person is involved in it? And then what can they do after to support the continuous? And you're thinking through this as you're working out the design. So if your objective is, we want them to all apply crucial conversations every time someone doesn't show up for work. Okay, before the learner ever goes to share a workshop, what can they do? Set the expectation. Right? Manage the workload. Give her permission, give the person permission to check out for 2 days to learn his content, and then set them up so they have an opportunity to apply whatever you think is on, right? What can they do during? Don't text them, don't call them, leave them alone, take care of the workload, keep the pressure off, whatever it is. And then what can they do after? Give them a chance to use it, follow up, and follow up 2 days, in 2 weeks, in 2 months. And continuously talk to them about whatever it is you want them to do. What can the learner do before they ever come in? You have to understand why you're going to share a workshop. Like you to do, this is an opportunity. Have you understand the cost of the absenteeism? Understand how it works. Have a conversation with the manager.
One thing I would do as a coach myself, I would try to expect a commitment from the learner that they're willing to change.
Choose, right? Because it's not hard. And if they're not, that's a different conversation.
Yeah.
That's right. If they're not willing, if they don't get why this is happening, and why they need to. And the pros and cons of that. And that's not their best view, listen to us somewhere else, or eventually.
This is called Mary Broad.
It's Mary Broad's learning transfer. So she, it came out in 92. I was okay, like way back. She was an OPM. She did some research around it. And so her book, training, it's called Training Transfer. It's the name of its book, right? Training Transfer. It's classic. The learning transfer business is huge. But it all really stems from her research. So it was Mary Broad and John Newsom. So you've got what the learner can do before, during, and after. And then you've got what, you know, the facilitator or the coach or the project lead can do. Part of it is understanding, this is Sharon, right? Sharon needs to know, why are you sending your people on my workshop? Now, the downside is a lot of times suppliers and programming don't ask that question because they want to sell their product. And we work with a lot of them and we say, it's kind of incumbent on you too to have this conversation if you don't want to show up on the front page of the London Times or whatever that's Scotland 2018 Lane Ford Consulting called out on this newspaper. Is really Scotland Yard was called out. And they spent £10 million on a leadership development program in primary story, front page of the newspaper, loved it. And the consulting's down, the name of the consultant's right down there. It's like, hey, it's not where you want to be. You need to have a conversation with your people. So Sharon can have a conversation with these folks, find out what's really going on. And then during, you want to make sure that you're delivering relevant content. Asking people in the room to tell them what's going on. And then following up. A lot of times, these people, facilitators, think it's not my place. Follow up. It needs to be a little while. So when you're doing this, and you're thinking about design, don't forget to design to make it stick. Right? Yeah, no, that's awesome. We do that, not to the great extent you probably should. Yeah. That's where theory and reality. Yeah, it's hard work. It's hard work. I was working med clinic in Rochester, and we kind of went through this. And so what they started doing, they sort of did this, right? They kind of did that, but this is not what they do. And they started doing this, and they did. But for every big project, they would send the managers their action plans. They only get like 3 things to do before they're out. You don't want to overload the managers. They're not going to do more than they need to, but give them a 3. And they started doing that. And one time, this gal said, one time, and we would get emails from the managers going, I need an action plan, because managers are busy people too. We need to help them help themselves, right? Actually, you know, of all of these, and you guys feel of all of these, which time frame and which role, just I guess, has the most influence on our success of our students?
I think it's doing the facilitation.
Manager facilitation, learner after, manager after, manager after.
Maybe it's the same spot.
The learner has to implement. But this is number one. Universal. Yeah, what the manager does before. When we do our follow-up study, this role.
Yeah. We have managers here, and they tell their employees, and their employees kind of training with that.
They do. Yeah.
You know,
Of course they do.
that's true. And I just realized that I volunteer with the DAV and we do chapter service officer training once a year. So when I went to that training a couple of years ago, I didn't even have the book. But then when it was my turn to send a group, I worked with them before they were prepared, and that's all they talked about. And they are excited and enthusiastic. So you're right, that's the spot because I prepared them. They knew what to expect, so they were attentive in the class and they didn't get lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And they looked at everybody around them that didn't get what they got. And now those people who didn't get what they got, that's around us, they come to our chapter to work in. So you're right, and that I hadn't thought about it until you just said it.
It's all about expectations. Now, the second, of course, second is here right after that, that was support continue enablement, but yeah. It's always, we had, you were talking about how to come in with attitude. We've seen, and they still exist, they did when I was in corporate years ago. The people who say, I'm good, I'm doing my way. I mean, they're still out there, right?
Yes, they are.
You're in their employees come back, they're excited, we learned this.
So, I mean, that seems to be an established model, so I don't want to question any established theories out here for decades. But where does the leader come in? The one who inspires and motivates? That the manager, because the manager for me is someone who directs and manages.
Well, this is the person who has the direct.
Okay, so the manager essentially has this dual role from managing and directing, plus inspiring and motivating.
Right, now there's a higher level leader who's doing the big global thing up here, but their impact on what this person does every day is minimal compared to this person. You know, the leader, if you want to say the director above the manager, could be setting the expectation. Could be setting a broader expectation for our team. Yes, but yeah, whatever trickle down. If the trickle down, right? What we have found in our research when we do studies like barriers and first application, number one barrier, policies. This person. Number one, enabling policies. So it's that direct. Yeah, there's somebody else here. And then maybe if it's technology implementation, you might even have IT involved. Because again, it still happens. You get people all geared up for technology implementation, like you're switching over to Workday or something, and you've been training and spending and training, and they're not even ready. So it's so painful.
I just want to comment to what you said. So you have to be careful about the manager leader. So what I have experienced when I do leadership training is that people misinterpret the two terms. They use them interchangeably, well, they are not. Even though you are a manager and you should be a leader, it doesn't always translate to, so you have a manager who is not a leader, and then you have a leader who is not a manager, and you have a leader that doesn't know what's going on. So your question is, oh, I don't know if there's really an answer if you don't understand the dynamic that not every manager is a leader.
I have a little analogy.
Okay.
And I think not every leader, it's a great manager, and all my good, right? Coaches, if you have a coach involved in your process, and you think you need that coach, put it in the pictures, right? So what she says, to your point, is being respectful of an established model, it is established, but what she says in the research is these are the three primary, it's not all. But these are the three that have the most, based on her research, have the most influence on learning transfer. It doesn't mean when you're setting up your strategy, discount the others. Because the IT is going to roll, coaches is going to roll. All right, I'll take that picture. Of course. Okay, that's some job. Okay. I want to show you guys one more, because I know we need to wrap up. And I do want to show one more. Okay, all you have to do is hit 36. Nope. 36. But you know, is it what? 36.
That's a great story.
Casey? Yeah, she's great. All right, just want to wrap it up with one thing, and then we're gonna let you guys go. 1,000% ROI is huge, but it can happen, right? You can also have negative, and they are out here, and they're living in Monmouth, right? And what we want to do is we want to see them before others do. You want to know, look in the mirror, how we do it. So Casey Buckley is head of commercial talent for a large pharmaceutical organization. She's been a client of ours for many, many years. And so she tracked me down at a conference and she said, I've got this coaching solution. I've got to go present the results. My senior leadership, which included the finance and leadership. She said, I think it's negative. So we looked at it for about an hour, got it what we could for it not to be. There's only so much you can do, right? You're right, it's negative, so we can't make it any better than it is. But she, exactly. So she presented it. And so this is the excerpt from an email she sent me the day after the presentation. She said they were so impressed. They weren't surprised it was negative. Most of the time, your leadership is not going to be surprised with a negative. They sort of know things are working out, right? They weren't surprised that this coaching solution was negative. They were first surprised that she could even show data like that for coaching. And they were surprised what not coaching was doing to the company. And so she ended up, even though she had a negative ROI, ended up getting more money. And then over time, built up her portfolio of success, got promoted. She's doing amazing things. Which is doing amazing things. But the point of it is a negative ROI can have positive benefits. Well, and sometimes you have to do it anyway. You have to do it anyway. Yeah, just do it.
But I think what the missing piece is it was to her point was, how did I present it? Because I think there are so many, when you get into training, coaching, and leadership, no one really knows how to do that.
Yeah.
How to show that it is important and it isn't.
Yeah. And also the importance of showing why there was a negative ROI. She gave them that why, which helped them realize, well, crap, if we don't do this, then our ROI is never going to be.
Yeah. And I'll go to Aristotle. 3 modes of communication, right? Got to be a compelling story. Got to the audience. You're going to have data in there. That's how you get it. Right. You've got to have content in there that's compelling. You present it in a logical way. This framework, like it or not, this framework provides logic. We invested in coaching. People bought in. They learned. They applied. Here's the impact. We know they've had to do a program because we isolated the effects of the program. Here's the ROI. By the way, here are the intangibles. So telling in a logical way, and it's got to be credible. That means your process has to be credible and the person presenting has to be credible. And so sometimes we'll see the Casey amazing, right? That didn't happen, but sometimes we will see people team up. And if you've got someone on your team that can tell the story that you've created, that they're perceived as a more credible source. Because we are presenting for a reason. And so use the V model for your presentation. What is your opportunity to get funding or do whatever it is? What needs to happen in that room? What do people need to have and have you present it so they buy it? You've got to tell the story, watch the process, watch the presentation, credible process, and you've got the right person telling it. In the end, it is all about our final slide. You go to the next slide of this. If we want to show the value of what we're doing, COVID is not a strategy, what it's not about, but doing nothing is not an option. Change is inevitable, progress is optional. It is really up to us to get it done. And ISPIers are some of the best at it because it was about. So hopefully it gave you some takeaways. I think we kind of enjoyed that conversation for sure. So hopefully this gave you some takeaways. Any questions? You guys okay? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
I do, but I don't know, it might be a sidebar. AI.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Thanks for hanging around. We'll talk one with that.
Yes.
Thank you. for the
Yeah, so
resources.
thank you guys. Again,
I like the way that you presented it and that that even